Imagine an automated AI hacker that basically never sleeps, just relentlessly rattling the digital doorknobs of, like, a public middle school in Ohio.
Right, just constant probing.
Exactly. And now, imagine the exact same global network infrastructure perfectly streaming a live World Cup match to, I don't know, 50 million phones all at once.
It's wild to think about.
It really is. Today, you and I are looking at the invisible scaffolding holding up our entire world. Welcome to our deep dive into the morning briefing from July 5th, 2026. We have a massive stack of updates to get through today.
Yeah, massive is an understatement.
I mean, we are covering everything from shifting global trade deals and pretty tense geopolitical truces to a tidal wave of tech layoffs, AI-driven ransomware, and of course, a continent-wide World Cup.
It's an incredibly dense briefing, but there's this really clear, undeniable through line connecting every single one of these stories for you.
Right, which is that every time a major headline happens in the physical world, it triggers this massive invisible stress test on our digital infrastructure. Now, before we jump in, looking at the data from Washington directives and global trade negotiations, our goal today is just to map out the market dynamics. We are covering inherently charged topics here, like the U.S.-Iran peace deal, U.S.-EU trade policies, and the White House's attempts to regulate AI.
We definitely are.
So just a quick reminder for you listening. We are analyzing the mechanics of these events strictly as market indicators. We're impartially reporting the facts directly from the source material. We're not endorsing any political viewpoints or taking sides.
Right. The focus is entirely on the mechanics. And to really understand those mechanics, we have to start with how the physical world is shifting in the Middle East right now.
Yeah, let's get into that.
So Iran is currently holding a state funeral for Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. And enormous crowds have gathered in Tehran, which marks this incredibly uncertain new chapter for a country that's, emerging from months of war.
Right.
However, the briefing specifically notes that the June 17th Memorandum of Understanding, which is this very fragile U.S.-Iran peace deal, is formally holding. Boundaries are certainly being tested, but leadership on both sides is urging calm.
Geopolitics on that scale often feels completely disconnected from, like, the tech industry, right?
Sure, it can seem that way.
But that stability is actually immediately quantifiable in the digital realm. A peace deal in the Middle East directly dictates the physical reality of global technology supply chains.
Absolutely. I mean, look at the Strait of Hormuz. It is one of the most critical maritime choke points in the entire world.
Yeah.
When a peace deal holds, the actuaries at these major insurance firms, the tanker operators, the commodity tracking platforms, they all frantically recalibrate their shipping risk model.
They're adjusting all their spreadsheets in real time.
Exactly. The cost to move the raw materials, the rare earth metals, the silicon, and the components that literally physically build our data centers, it all fluctuates based on the size and temperament of those funeral crowds in Tehran.
Which is just crazy to think about. And we see that same physical to digital translation mirrored in the new EU-US trade framework that just hit Washington's July 4th deadline, too.
Right, the tariff caps.
Yeah, this framework caps most tariffs on European Union goods at 15%. And based on last year's shipping volumes, that's expected to generate about $90 billion in U.S. tariff revenue. But a 15% cap isn't just, a tax line item on a spreadsheet.
No, not at all.
It is a mathematical threshold that determines exactly where physical infrastructure gets built.
That is the crucial mechanism at play here. When tech companies plan a new microchip fabrication plant or some massive cloud hardware facility, they run these incredibly complex margin calculations.
Right.
If they fear a volatile trade war with fluctuating tariffs, they might build their factories in regions with predictable costs, like certain parts of Southeast Asia, just to avoid a sudden margin collapse.
Yeah, they want stability.
Exactly. But a locked-in capped tariff at 15% gives them a stable mathematical formula. They can confidently calculate the exact cost to manufacture a connected device in Europe and ship it to the U.S. Trade deals are literal blueprints for where the physical internet lives.
So geopolitical stability is essentially just a giant, nerve-wracking logistics dashboard for tech executives now.
Pretty much, yeah.
But I do want to push back a little here because we have to be careful not to reduce human history to just a supply chain metric. A conflict that tragically upends millions of lives is fundamentally a human crisis. It's not just a reason to update an insurance algorithm for a cargo ship.
Oh, totally. And the data we track doesn't erase or minimize that human cost at all. Rather, the data demonstrates how the global system reacts to human reality.
Right, it's a reflection of it.
Exactly. The technology sector relies on this globally dispersed, highly sensitive supply chain. When human lives are disrupted by war, the physical supply chain breaks. When a peace deal holds, the system attempts to heal. So these risk models are simply the dashboard showing us how deeply intertwined basic human stability is with ongoing technological progress.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that connection between human reality and tech brings us to the next major piece of the briefing.
The layoffs.
Yeah, the layoffs. Let's look at what tech companies are actually doing with all that hardware once it finally gets built and shipped. They are pivoting entirely to artificial intelligence, and the human cost of that pivot is just staggering.
It really is.
In the first half of 2026, we have seen over 128,000 tech jobs cut by July 1st.
Just to put that in perspective for you, that 6-month figure has already outpaced all of the tech layoffs we saw in the entirety of 2025.
Which is wild. Oracle, Meta, LinkedIn, and Bungie are leading these cuts, and the briefing notes that India is the second worst hit country globally. But the defining insight here is the financial paradox of this transition.
Right, because it's not just about saving money.
Exactly. Companies aren't just laying off workers to pad their bottom lines. They are actively converting the salaries of middle-class tech workers into physical energy. Budgets are being aggressively redirected from human payroll into AI compute, expanding data center real estate, and funding the immense cooling systems required to run these machines.
The capital is literally being transferred from human logic to machine logic.
Yeah.
And the contradiction in the corporate strategy is fascinating to watch. At the exact same time these massive players are laying off tens of thousands of software developers and engineers, they are launching entirely new divisions.
Like Microsoft.
Yes. Microsoft just launched a $2.5 billion organization purely dedicated to deploying AI within enterprise companies. They're matching Amazon, OpenAI, and Anthropic, who have all built these elite teams of embedded specialists.
And Meta is even planning to sell its excess AI compute, essentially setting itself up as a cloud business to rival AWS and Google Cloud.
Right.
Meanwhile, Anthropic just dropped Claude Sonnet 5, which they're marketing as, cheaper and safer, alongside a Claude Science workbench. So if we synthesize this, so companies are firing the humans who traditionally built the technology, only to turn around and spend billions on specialists whose sole job is to figure out how to use the AI the company just bought.
Yeah, that's a pretty accurate summary.
I mean, it's like a corporation buying a massive state-of-the-art factory, but firing all the assembly line workers before they even know where the power switch is for the new robotic machines.
It is actually worse than that, I think.
Really?
Yeah, it's like buying the factory, firing the workers, and then hiring incredibly expensive external consultants just to write the instruction manual for the machines.
Wow.
What we're witnessing is the industry forcefully moving out of the shiny model announcement phase. For the last few years, AI labs were locked in this vanity metric race.
Oh, yeah, totally.
It was all about raw model size and who could build the largest neural network. Now we have hit the incredibly messy implementation phase.
Because organizations bought the shiny new technology, and they are suddenly realizing they have absolutely no idea how to safely or effectively integrate it into their daily workflows.
Exactly. That is why the competition has shifted entirely. They're no longer competing on scale. They're competing on cost, reliability, and friction.
Right.
Anthropic pushing Claude Sonnet 5 as a cheaper, more practical agent is a direct response to this. The true race right now is figuring out who can make this technology function reliably in a boring, everyday corporate environment without, bankrupting the IT department.
But just as AI is moving into this powerful, widespread implementation phase, the government is suddenly stepping in to hit the brakes.
Yes, the regulatory side is really heating up.
According to the briefing, the White House reportedly asked OpenAI to slow-roll its newest model, limiting its release to select partners due to safety concerns. And again, just to remind you listening, we are neutrally reporting on this tension between federal oversight and tech innovation. We're not taking a stance on the politics of it.
Right, but looking at this purely through the lens of market dynamics, this creates a massive friction point.
I mean, it creates an almost impossible operating environment for the market leader. If the government is sending inconsistent policy signals, asking for a slow roll here, expressing broad safety concerns there, how can an industry competing on speed possibly comply.
It's incredibly difficult. For an industry that fundamentally relies on rapid iteration, these mixed signals act as a heavy anchor.
And the data totally reflects that friction.
Mm-hmm.
ChatGPT's market share has officially slipped below 50%.
Wow.
I mean, it still boasts an astronomical 1.1 billion monthly users, but Google, Gemini, Claude, and open-weight models are rapidly gaining ground.
We should probably define that term quickly for context. Open-weight models essentially allow developers to look under the hood, access the underlying architecture, and tweak the AI's core code for their own specific uses.
Got it.
As opposed to a closed system like ChatGPT, where the internal mechanics are completely hidden from the user.
And so the rise of those open-weight alternatives suggests that this government intervention, this friction placed on the market leader, is actually the exact window competitors needed to chip away at OpenAI's dominance, isn't it?
Yeah, when the regulatory rules aren't entirely clear, the dominant incumbent always faces the heaviest scrutiny.
Right.
It's the incumbent penalty. We're looking at a rapidly maturing market here. Innovation speed, corporate competition, and government oversight are now permanently intertwined. The whole era of move fast and break things is functionally over when the things you might break are classified national safety protocols or, core economic infrastructure.
Which is a perfect segue, because while Washington debates the safety parameters of future AI models, the AI that exists right now is already being weaponized against our current everyday infrastructure.
Unfortunately, yes.
And it is hitting our most vulnerable, underfunded networks the hardest, especially our schools.
The K-12 education sector is really a perfect microcosm of this whole digital stress test. The threat landscape has completely outpaced the defensive capabilities of local governments.
The numbers in the briefing are just staggering. The average school district is now juggling 2,700 different digital tools.
Just think about that from an IT perspective for a second.
Right. From cafeteria payment applications and bus routing software to math tutoring platforms and specialized special education portals. That is 2,700 unique software vendors, and each one represents a potential attack vector.
And they are managing this amidst tighter local budgets and massive state accountability demands, too. Ohio just mandated a sweeping AI usage policy for every district, and Idaho added an entirely new AI framework and virtual school rule set.
The states are scrambling because, for the third straight year, cybersecurity is the #1 K-12 tech concern. The briefing specifically highlights the recent PowerSchool breach, which exposed highly sensitive student data.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
The situation has escalated to the point where over 400 school districts actually petitioned Congress this week for sustained, permanent federal funding. They don't want one-off technology grants anymore. They're explicitly asking for permanent defense budgets.
And when you look at the cyber threats they are facing this week, their desperation makes total sense.
Definitely.
FISA, the Federal Cybersecurity Agency, just ordered all federal agencies to patch an 8.8 severity SharePoint zero-day remote code execution flaw by July 4th.
And a zero-day flaw basically means the software developers had 0 days to fix the vulnerability before hackers actively started exploiting it, right?
Exactly. And SharePoint is the exact type of on-premises server system that public schools, local municipal governments, and small businesses rely on to store sensitive internal documents, employee records, operational data, everything.
And it isn't just SharePoint either. Splunk enterprise flaws are being exploited mere days after they're publicly disclosed. But the most terrifying update in the briefing changes the entire nature of the threat. Security researchers just documented what they believe is the first ransomware operation run entirely by a large language model agent.
An AI agent autonomously handling the entire life cycle of a cyber attack.
Which is insane. From the initial network reconnaissance to the deployment of the encryption malware, all the way to the extortion demands. No human at the keyboard.
None.
The AI is reasoning through the network topology on its own. So put this into perspective for you. Imagine you're a small public school IT department, right? Imagine giving a school principal 2,700 different physical locks to check every single night before they go home.
Sounds impossible.
Now imagine a fully automated robotic intruder running around the building, jiggling every single door handle, looking for a loose hinge at machine speed 24 hours a day. How is an underfunded IT team supposed to fight an adversary that literally never sleeps?
They cannot fight it using traditional methods. They just can't. The terrifying reality of this implementation phase is that the exact same underlying AI capabilities that make Claude Sonnet 5 a brilliant, efficient research assistant, well, they also completely lower the barrier to entry for malicious actors.
Yeah.
An LLM agent can hijack a network at an unprecedented scale.
It forces a complete redefinition of the cybersecurity baseline. Patching a software flaw quickly is no longer just like a best practice to strive for. It is a fundamental survival requirement.
Exactly. If an IT director leaves a known vulnerability unpatched for even a few days, an automated AI agent will inevitably find it and exploit it. Defenders have to assume that attackers are now moving seamlessly at machine speed.
Which means our defensive postures have to become fully automated and equally fast just to maintain parity.
Right.
But, I think we need to zoom out from the digital trench warfare for a minute. Because right now, the digital world sounds like this relentless, exhausting war zone of 0 days, AI ransomware, and massive capital redistribution through layoffs.
It can definitely feel bleak.
But when you look at the physical world, technology is quietly enabling massive moments of shared human experience and genuine, life-altering breakthroughs.
Maintaining that duality is so essential. Because the infrastructure we use to defend against AI ransomware is the exact same infrastructure that binds global culture together.
Right. Take the FIFA World Cup. It's currently the first men's tournament hosted across 3 nations, the U.S., Mexico, and Canada. And we have officially hit the knockout stage.
It's been a while.
Morocco just eliminated Canada, and the United States is facing Bosnia and Herzegovina. The final is set for July 19th in New York and New Jersey. With 48 teams competing across a massive geographic footprint, it is an unprecedented civic event. But underneath the surface, it is a phenomenal, hidden technology stress test.
Consider just the logistics of stadium entry alone. Biometric ticketing systems have to process 80,000 unique faces in under an hour without a single server crash.
Yeah.
While simultaneously verifying payment data, cross-referencing security databases, and writing global streaming feeds to billions of devices.
And the social media timeline is completely united by it. You have World Cup fever colliding with this viral, unnamed sports meme that everyone is actively remixing right now.
Oh yeah, that meme is everywhere.
All of this dovetailed with America's 250th anniversary weekend, featuring massive coordinated fireworks displays and Major League Baseball's For the People programming block.
It's a huge cultural moment.
Even the controversies are culturally binding in a way. There is a fierce ethical debate raging online right now over the Enhanced Games New Year-round Breakers series.
Right.
For those unaware, it's a competition specifically for performance-enhanced athletes that is forcing society to argue about the future of elite sports in human limits. And again, just impartially reporting the debate here, not taking a stance on the ethics of the games themselves.
Sure. But stepping away from sports and entertainment entirely for a second, there was a genuinely profound headline buried in the briefing from Positive News regarding a medical breakthrough.
Yes, I saw that. A new pill has shown significantly improved outcomes for pancreatic cancer patients.
It is incredibly hopeful.
It really is. It's still in the early stages and obviously requires further clinical validation, but pancreatic cancer remains one of the grimmest, most devastating diagnoses in modern medicine. Any therapeutic advancement that extends life is a monumental deal.
And this is exactly why the messy, chaotic implementation phase of technology actually matters.
How so?
Well, the massive data centers and the aggressive AI compute budgets we discussed earlier, they are the exact tools being used to sequence the proteins and model the chemical interactions that lead to these pharmaceutical breakthroughs.
Wow, isn't it fascinating to reflect on that? The exact same global network infrastructure that is currently fending off autonomous LLM ransomware in Ohio middle schools is flawlessly streaming the U.S.-Bosnia match to millions of phones, while simultaneously allowing global medical researchers to share the massive data sets that lead to a pancreatic cancer pill.
It's incredible. Progress happens quietly in the laboratories, while the terrifying, sensational headlines churn on the front pages. We endure the zero-day exploits, the shifting supply chains, and all the friction of government regulation because eventually the underlying technological progress demonstrably improves the human condition.
I think that's a perfect point, and I want to wrap up our deep dive today with one final piece of news from the briefing that beautifully frames this entire conversation.
Yeah, let's hear it.
To mark America's 250th birthday, NASA released a stunning new portrait taken by the Hubble Space Telescope. It's an image of Messier 3. It's an ancient globular cluster packed with hundreds of thousands of individual stars.
Oh, wow.
Astronomers note that this specific cluster is roughly as old as the universe itself, just glittering like scattered diamonds against the absolute dark of deep space.
You know, when we connect all of these updates to the bigger picture, it really leaves us with a necessary shift in perspective. We spend our entire lives right now obsessing over machine speed.
We really do.
We worry about software vulnerabilities measured in hours. We panic over AI agents executing extortion tasks in milliseconds. We stress over the frantic pace of 128,000 tech layoffs occurring in just 6 months. We are completely consumed by the immediate and the urgent.
We measure our days in processing cycles and quarterly margin calculations.
Yet our most advanced, awe-inspiring physical technology, the Hubble Space Telescope, is utilized to quietly capture light from a star cluster so ancient it completely defies human comprehension.
Yeah,
Perhaps our frantic race to build artificial intelligence isn't merely about economic efficiency, optimizing global supply chains or automating enterprise workflows. Perhaps on some deep subconscious level, it is an attempt to build minds capable of truly understanding the vast, ancient universe we're just barely beginning to see.
that is something really incredible to mull over. The next time you rely on the invisible scaffolding holding up our world, whether you are swiping a digital ticket, streaming a match, or just watching a cargo ship navigate a harbor, take a moment to look up at the sky. Think about what we are actually building all of this technology to discover. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Stay informed, stay curious, and remember that no matter how messy the implementation phase gets, there is always something worth smiling about.